Hello everyone, Gainer here from HDB Upgrading Strategies and welcome back to my Facebook Live. Right, today is my Facebook Live episode 3131. Right, so what am I going to share with you guys today? I'm going to share with you guys today about this topic, which is this, right? Which is the number one grave mistake of buying a second property investment in Singapore. Right? So what is the number one grave mistake when buyers today want to buy their second property investment? So this is the topic that I'm going to share with you guys today. So once again, I think there will be a number of people who are streaming in. So what is my topic for today? My topic for today is the number one grave mistake whereby a property buyers who wants to buy a second property investment in Singapore. Right, so this is what is the mistake that property buyers today make, right, when they want to buy a second property investment. Right, in fact, I touched about this in my Facebook Live episode 9, right, Facebook Live episode 9, which is about is it worth paying ABSD for your second property investment, right? So if you guys who wants to see this, this episode is actually my Facebook Live episode 9. Right, which is it worth paying ABSD for second property investment in Singapore? But today I think it's slightly different, right? Because I realized that a lot of property buyers who wants to buy their second property investment, I think that a lot of people make this number one grave mistake. So what is this number one grave mistake which I'm going into really very soon? Now, the very first thing I want you guys to understand whenever you buy a property investment, what is the number one thing when you want to buy, or probably what's the most important aspect or factor when you want to buy a property investment, right? To me, this is very important, right? Which is your objective, right? What is the number one objective when you want to buy a property investment, especially when it's your second property investment, right? Now, to me, I think it depends on a lot of different people a lot of different investors. But for me, what I'm looking at is really about this, which is your capital, the potential growth, right? When you want to buy a property investment, isn't that the objective, which is the potential, right, when you want to buy a property investment, right? So when you want to buy a property investment, to me, what is the main objective? The main objective is this property investment that you want to buy, the potential must be there. So it has to have a good upside potential, right? That is the number one main objective when people want to buy a property investment. But I realize that because of this objective, when someone wants to buy a second property investment, this objective seems to be not clear, right? Which I'm going to explain to you why, and which is why is it the number one grave mistake a lot of people make today, right? So first of all, I just want to go through with you guys about this thing, about the funds when you buy a property investment, a second property. So when you have a property, right? Your first property investment, right? First property investment. We talk about the funds, which is the very first 5% is definitely your cash, right? Subsequently, you have to pay the 20% down payment. Can be cash or CPF, right? And then subsequently, you'll be a 75% loan, which is your bank loan. Now, this is your first property, right? But the moment you are going to buy a second property, it is different. So I will draw this to make it very clear. Second property, right? Now, your second property, the funds will be different. Why? Because you will need to pay this first 5% cash, the same, right? And you also need to pay the first 20% down payment, right? Which is cash or CPF. However, The loan wise, this is 75% because this is your first property. Now, if you are getting a second property loan, the loan can only be 45% loan because this is your second property loan, right? Of course, for people who have already cleared their loan, then this second property investment, your loan can be up to 75%. But if you did not clear your bank loan or your loan, for the first property, then your second property loan will be only up to 45%. And you also have to account for the ABSD, right? So typically, if it is a $1 million property, right, your 5% cash will be 50K, your 20% down payment will be 200, right? Your ABSD, if based on 1 million, will be 120,000, right? And of course, your normal stamp duty will be around 24,600. Total of down payment will be around $394,600. Right? Can you guys see? Right? Once again, I want to repeat this for those who are streaming in. Right? What am I going to share with you guys today? I'm going to share with you guys the number one grave mistake of buyers who are buying a second property investment. So what is the grave mistake that people make? Now, first of all, I highlighted this is the objective. What is the objective of buying a property investment, which is the potential, right? The capital potential of this property investment, right? The capital percent. That should be your objective, right? But then again, this objective becomes a little bit not clear when you want to buy a second property. Now, why is that so? Let me go through the numbers again. Now, if you are buying a second property and based on a $1 million property, right, you have to down pay 50,000, which is your 5% cash. Now, next will be your 20% down payment, which is 200,000. You have to factor in your ABSD, which is based on 1 million, is 120,000, and then your stamp duty, which is 24,600. Of course, I didn't add the legal fee, which is probably around 2,005, right? But total up will be 394,600. That is your total down payment that you got to pay for your second property. And this amount is only based on your first, when you clear this 25%. Meaning to say, the difference between this, there is still around 30%? 100 minus 25 minus 45, which is, you still have a 30% of difference. You still have to clear this 30%, which is an additional of 300,000 before your loan kicks in. So what a lot of people does is that they will try their best to quickly clear their loan, the first property loan, so that they can have a 75% loan, because that will be your first property loan, even though you are buying a second property investment, because it's your first property loan. So if you clear your loan, this will be 75% taken care, which is a loan, but your 25% plus the ABSD total amount will be $394,600 if you're buying a $1 million property. So here's the thing. Now, a lot of investors, a lot of buyers that I met, that I understand, I met quite a lot of different property buyers, right? They don't have this figure. They don't have this amount of money, which is a huge, substantial amount. So what's going to happen? They are forced. So the thing is that the objective has changed. They are forced, because of the heavy down payment that they got to pay, they are forced to string this amount of investment purchase to a much lower amount, so that this amount goes down, right? You guys listening, do you understand where I'm coming from? Right? If you guys can understand where I'm coming from, please give me a thumbs up. At least you understand, right? This is very important. Now, because you are buying a second property investment, but due to the hefty down payment that you're going to pay if you're buying a 1 million, which you might not have this amount of money, you're forced to look for a property investment, right? That is much, much lower than this figure so that you can have enough money or funds to buy the investment, right? So that I think a lot of people, what a lot of people does that I think in the market, what they do is that they hold their HDB or their first property. They don't want to sell because due to sentimental, emotional, sentimental values of the first property. So they decided to buy a second property, but because they don't have this amount of money, which probably I think maybe 100 plus, 200 plus thousand, they are forced to find a property investment that is much lower in price. However, because of this, their objective has changed. This objective has changed. They are not looking into the capital potential of the property investment, but rather the affordability. So the key thing is that they rather look at the affordability of the second property investment. So what happens? Meaning to say, if I can put it very easy for you guys to understand. Now, you can probably afford a 3-bedder, right? Maybe a 4-bedder, I'm not too sure, right? But because of that second property investment, due to the heavy down payment, you can only look at a 1-bedder, right? A 1-bedder that costs 500 over 1,000, 600 over 1,000, which honestly speaking, I think in today's market, a lot of property buyers who probably just because they want to buy a second property investment and they think that, I mean, as long as they have rental, they cover everything, they are good enough, right? Then they will just find a 1-bedder, right, to invest for their second property because they don't have enough funds, right? So to me, I think it's very important for you guys to understand what is this objective. That's why today my topic is really about the grave mistake for people who wants to buy a second property investment, because that objective is not met due to the capital potential, but rather you buy a second property investment due to the affordability that you can afford, right? Which I think that is very important, right? Let me share with you a recent case study that I met a client who actually owns a HDB, and he probably does not want to sell the HDB, but wants to buy a second property investment, right? Which is really very common. And you know what happens? He is forced to look at a property, 1-bedder, in fact, a 1-bedder that's only worth around 400 to 500 over 1,000. And that 1-bedder, the property lease is only, if I can draw for you guys. Okay, now I will just draw this again. This is important. Capital growth or potential, right? So case study. So there's this client who are forced because of the budget, and he can only look for a 400XX to a 500XX, right? And because of this, he saw a property that I think is only left with 60 years lease, and he told me that the rental yield is very good. The rental yield is very good. So here comes the problem. In fact, I met him not too long ago, and I thought that this would be a very good case study that I can share with you guys. I told him that property investment, if today you are buying a property investment, what is property investment? A property investment to me is like, passing the baton. When you go for a competition, you go for a baton race, right? You are passing the baton, right? Or you play this game called musical chair, right? Musical chair. So you see the music plays, you sit on the chair, then after that you walk around, then you quickly snatch your chair, right? So what is property investment? The property investment is just like this musical chair or this passing a baton. You got to pass the baton to the buyer who's going to buy your property investment in the future, right? You don't want to own a property that at the end of the day, when you want to pass the baton or you want to pass the chair and no one wants to take it, right? So can you imagine? Now, you rent for 30 years, right? 30 years. So this property left with 30 years remaining lease. Now, the key idea is this. If you are going to sell this property, right? You are going to sell this property. Who will be looking to buy a property investment with a 30 years lease, remaining lease, right? So this to me is extremely important. Although it gives you a good rental yield, but you have to understand that at any point of time, here's the thing, you want to buy a property investment, and that property investment has to be sellable 5, 10, 20 years down the road. You won't want to own a property investment that at the end of the day, when you want to sell, no one's buying it, because a huge chunk of your funds are stuck here. A huge chunk of funds are stuck here, right? So that is something I think is really, really important that I want to share with you guys. Because at the end of the day, you know, I think quite a number of HDB homeowners especially are actually facing this very, how I say, this key thing, right? Which is the objective. You're going to buy a second property investment, but then you cannot find a $1 million property, or you cannot find more, much more expensive. Why? Because of your funds, due to the ABSD, due to the second property loan, which is only 45%. And you're forced, the thing is you're forced based on your funds to look for a property investment that you can afford. So the objective has changed. The objective is just to buy a second property, but not an investment, which may not promise you with a good growth. Now the key thing is that I would rather you really relook your plan, whatever your current situation, and try to understand. Sometimes, you know, honestly, I've been advising a lot of my clients that it would be even better for you to upgrade to a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom rather than just hold on to your first property and then buy a second property investment and you are string to just a 1-bedder, right? So this is something I feel is very important. I think is for you guys to understand, right? Once again, for those people who are streaming in or have been watching this video, I just want to highlight this topic again. This is the number one grave mistake of people, of buyers buying a second property investment. And what is the grave mistake? The grave mistake is this objective is not met. Why? Because of the funds. That is not enough. And that's why you're forced to only look for a 1-bedroom, which you have to be very careful, especially when you buy a 1-bedroom, right? In my Facebook Live episode 29, if I'm not wrong, I shared about me buying a property investment that is a 1-bedder, right? But that's slightly different because I look at pricing, I look at the floor plan, I look at a lot of factors before I actually jump into buying it. And if you miss that, you can probably go to my Facebook Live episode 29, if I'm not wrong, right? You can see the video and probably from then on, you can understand why am I buying that investment, right? So if you are being forced to buy a 1-bedroom investment, I think it's really very important because I think the supply of the 1-bedder is really a lot. And you have to be very selective when choosing the right project, and especially on the right unit, and also the price and other factors as well, right? So, okay, I see someone posting a question, which is Timothy, right? Is 600 square meters for a 2-bedroom considered small? I think I would like to correct you from there. Based on my experience, I think probably you typed wrongly. It should not be 600 square meters. A 5-room flat is 112 square meters. So I think what you're saying is that 600 square feet for a 2-bedroom, right? Is it considered small, right? Well, it depends. I think now these days there are a lot of 2-bedders that are already around 600 over square feet, which is very common. 600 square feet in today's context should be 2-bed, 1 toilet, right? Which is what I shared in another Facebook Live, which I talk about conventional and not conventional property investment, which one you should buy, which one you should not buy, right? I think I touched on that before. I forget which Facebook Live episode, right? You can watch that. But answering to your question, is it considered small? I think now is the norm. It's really the norm already. People are really looking at investment that is 600 over square feet. Even a 3-bedroom now has been shrunk to a 3-bedroom classic, which is around 800 over square feet, which at the end of the day, I did share with my clients, I think whenever there is a good investment in terms of pricing, I will look into it and I will buy it, right? So I don't really look at the size. I mean, size is important, but 600 square feet, well, I think it's the norm already, so you don't have to worry about that. Thanks for asking this question, right? So, once again, for those people who are streaming in, I think we have already come to the end of my Facebook Live. You can watch it again. But once again, what is this topic? The topic is about this, the number one grave mistake for property buyers when they are looking to buy their second property investment, right? No problem, Timothy, right? Thanks. I hope that I can answer your question. Now, I hope today's topic is really very important for you guys, and I hope it is beneficial, right? Now, once again, thank you so much for watching this Facebook Live. If you guys don't have any questions, right, I will probably end here. But however, I will probably wish you guys happy Christmas. I think it just ended, right? And a happy new year, which is coming very soon. So I hope you guys have a fantastic 2019 and also another 2020, a fantastic year as well. Thanks for watching this Facebook Live episode 31, and good night. See you guys again. Bye-bye.